Ever noticed how, even when you know what you should be doing with money, you still end up making choices that make zero sense? The truth is, the problem isn't math, it's your brain playing tricks on you. These hidden psychological traps distort your decisions without you realizing it, making you believe you're acting rationally when you're really not. And once you spot them, you start seeing the real game behind money. Trap 1. You think you're logical, but you're just biased. Most people like to believe they make financial decisions purely rationally, as if they had a calculator wired into their brains. But in reality, every choice is filtered through past experiences, old stories, and personal fears. It's like wearing invisible glasses that distort how you see money. To one person, investing in stocks feels like gambling. To another, it's the obvious path to wealth. Both believe they're being logical, but really, they're just playing different games. Here's a simple example. Imagine two people looking at the same stock. One rushes to buy, excited and hopeful. The other sells in a panic, desperate to escape. Who's right? Neither is being irrational, may have scars from the 2008 crash that scream run, while the other may have made a fortune during the tech boom and learned risk pays off. It's not about pure logic, it's about emotional baggage shaping decisions. And that's the catch. Believing your choices are fully rational blinds you to your own biases. You stop questioning yourself, miss opportunities, and overlook risks that fall outside your mental bubble. People stuck here keep repeating the same mistakes, thinking the problem is lack of technical knowledge, but it's not. And that leads straight into the next trap, which is even trickier. The illusion of control. Trap 2. You think you're in control, but you underestimate luck and risk. We love hearing success stories told as if they were 100% about intelligence and effort. But what almost no one mentions is the silent role of LeConte, the shadow of risk. Bill Gates, for example, was smart, disciplined, visionary, but he also happened to attend one of the very few schools in the 1970s that had a computer. That tiny coincidence gave him a once-in-a-lifetime advantage. How many equally brilliant kids never got that chance? And luck's twin, risk, plays just as big a role. Gates's close friend Kent Evans had the same passion for computers and the same potential, but he tragically died in an accident before graduating high school. Same starting point, wildly different endings, and no amount of talent could have changed that. This shows why the 100% self-made myth is misleading. Reality is way messier and unpredictable. The danger is overestimating the control you actually have. When things go right, you feel like a genius. When they don't, you blame yourself too harshly. The truth, the equation, is never fully in your hands. Accepting that builds humility and leads to smarter strategies that actually account for uncertainty. And once you see that you can't control everything, you'll notice another trap: chasing more than you actually need. Trap 3. You chase more and never define enough. One of the most poisonous habits in personal finance is never feeling satisfied. You can earn great money, build real security, but the moment you see someone with a little more, it suddenly feels like you're behind. It's like getting a huge bonus, only to hear a coworker got slightly more. Overnight, your victory feels like a loss. The issue isn't money itself, it's the endless comparison game. Fortunes have been destroyed because someone didn't know when to say enough. Take Sam Bankman-Fried. By 29, he had billions, global recognition, a massive company. Still, he kept chasing more. And in a flash, it all vanished. That's the trap of never defining what's enough. Because if your only goal is more, the game never ends. There will always be someone richer, flashier, or more admired. And peace of mind is usually the first thing sacrificed. Defining what's enough doesn't mean settling for less. It means protecting what you've already built. For you, enough might mean financial freedom to live anywhere you want, or a solid emergency fund, or simply having more time with your family. Once you know your line, you stop getting pulled into envy and endless comparison. But then comes another sneaky trap: mistaking status symbols for actual wealth. Trap 4. You mistake status for real wealth. A lot of people think showing off wealth is the same as actually having it. But spending to look rich is the fastest road to being broke. Fancy cars, luxury watches, exotic trips. They might look impressive, but usually they're just ego expenses, not true wealth. Real wealth is invisible. It's not in what you buy. It's in what you don't spend. It's in what sits quietly, growing in the background. Think of the man in the car paradox. When someone sees a Ferrari, they don't think, wow, What an amazing driver. I think I wish I were in that car. The owner doesn't get the admiration they crave. They just spark envy. It's a game of appearances where nobody wins. Meanwhile, the people living quietly, not showing off, are the ones actually stacking up financial freedom. True wealth doesn't scream at whispers. Trap is spending to impress people who aren't even paying attention to you. And worse, the race for status never ends. Someone will always have a bigger house, flashier car, or more extravagant trip. That's why chasing status drains not just your bank account, but also your peace of mind. And when that chase mixes with another illusion, the wise pessimist, the damage gets even deeper. Trap 5. You fall for pessimism disguised as wisdom. Ever noticed how people who predict doom always sound smarter? If someone says the market's about to crash, they instantly get attention. But if someone talks about progress, they sound naive. That's because our brains are wired to pay more attention to threats than to opportunities. For our ancestors, ignoring danger could mean getting eaten. But in finance, that survival instinct can cost you big. Just look at the headlines. Crashes, collapses, bubbles about to burst. They grab attention because they're dramatic. Progress, on the other hand, like cheaper clean energy or breakthroughs in medicine, happens slowly, quietly, without the same hype. So we give pessimists way more credit, even though history shows humanity tends to move forward over time. The trap is letting fear guide your decisions. Investors who panicked and sold everything in downturns miss the market's biggest recovery days. Pessimism feels like caution, but it's often just disguised paralysis. And when you combine that fear with overly rigid plans, you fall into yet another trap. Living like a spreadsheet, forgetting you're actually human. Trap 6. You plan like a spreadsheet, but live like a human on paper. Everything looks perfect. Flawless spreadsheets, neat charts, carefully calculated goals. But real life doesn't follow the spreadsheet. Spreadsheets don't feel fear, don't lose sleep, don't panic when the market drops 30% in a week. You do. And if your plan doesn't account for your emotions, it won't survive the first real shock. This is where so many stumble not from lack of math, but from lack of emotional preparation. Take the classic investor who bails out halfway through a downturn. Swore he could handle the drop until reality hit. That's because we confuse being rational with being reasonable. As Morgan Housel says, it's better to be reasonable and consistent than cold and perfect. A flexible plan that bends under stress, but dose and tea break is way more valuable than a rigid one that collapses in a crisis. This trap is dangerous because it feels like you're being strategic, when really you're ignoring your humanity. The irony. The biggest financial wins often go to those who simply stay in the game long enough. But that is where another overlooked force comes in, the quiet power of time and the chaos of rare events. Trap 7. You ignore the power of time and rare events. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year and massively underestimate what they can do in 10. Time is like a silent partner, working 24/7 even when you're not watching. The problem is, we're impatient, we want results now. But compounding only reveals its magic after years. It's like planting a tree. At first it looks like nothing's happening. But one day it's towering, providing shade for generations. And it's not just time. It's rare events that shape wealth. A handful of days in the stock market make up most of the gains in an entire decade. Miss those, and you miss the game. Life works the same way. An unexpected opportunity, a chance encounter. A tiny project that suddenly blows up, those tail events change everything. But to benefit, you need to stay in the game long enough, resisting the urge to quit too soon. That's why patience and resilience are so powerful. The ones who endure the boring, uneventful days end up cashing in on the extraordinary ones. That's the difference between people who build lasting wealth and those always chasing shortcuts. And once you get this, you start to see money less as a race against time and more as a partnership with it. Conclusion. So here, the real question. Are you going to keep letting your own mind work against you? Or are you finally going to flip the game in your favor? Knowing these traps means nothing if you don't act differently. Realizing that more isn't always better, that status isn't wealth, and that time is your greatest ally only matters if you actually apply it day in and day out. Be honest with yourself. Which of these traps have you already fallen into without even noticing? Are you chasing comparison, spending to impress, or giving up too early? Change starts the moment you face these patterns head-on and decide to break them. True financial power doesn't come from hacks or shortcuts. It comes from consistent, intentional choices. And if this video got you thinking, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you'll keep learning how to dodge these invisible traps and finally build wealth with clarity, freedom, and confidence. After all, money isn't just about numbers, it's about mastering the psychology behind them.